Oh my God, babe, wake up. The new Uncoached podcast episode just dropped.
Oh my God, yes. Our guest today, I have Harry Nelms. If you haven't already guessed from the intro, he is multiple time Welsh champion in weightlifting. He's made some Welsh records. He's medalled at British Champs, competed internationally, including Commonwealth Games 23. And he's in the top.
Champs. Champs, not games, bestie.
Oh my God, Champs. I'm so sorry. Cut. Okay. He's competed internationally, including at the 2023 Commonwealth Champs. And he is in the top 0.1% of Ethel Kane listeners worldwide on Spotify, which I feel
I
like is
am.
probably his most proud achievement out of all of those
It
things.
is.
And
None
one
of
of
the
them.
weightlifting stuff actually matters.
Yeah.
But the Ethel Kane streams, I wear that as a badge of honor.
Yeah. As you
I'm
should.
like,
That's a huge achievement. What,
I'm like
0.1?
embarrassed when people find out that I do weightlifting. But when they find out that I do like streaming Ethel Kane, I'm like, oh yeah, I know, I do actually do that.
Why are you embarrassed when people find out you do weightlifting?
Because it's kind of cringe. It's like, what do you mean you go home and like give up your weekends? I mean, I say that. I like the sport because I've met some wonderful people through it, like you and Leah, like you are my all-time besties. And I hate when people are like, oh my God, I hate the community in weightlifting because it's like, well, actually, you surround yourself with the people that you want to interact with. Like,
Hmm.
there are awful people everywhere.
Yeah,
Some
that's
of them
true.
are sometimes living in your own home. Um, I get doing like a social media blackout because like, my God, my brain is rotting.
Hmm.
Like, I can't read a book anymore because I just want to scroll.
Yeah.
And I get when people are like, oh, I have to just do like a detox of social media and coming off of it, blah, blah, blah. But when people are like, social media is negatively affecting me because like there's always gonna be a level of comparison, but comparison to the point that you're like miserable all the time. Like
Hmm.
you control what you see. Just unfollow them.
I had to do it recently. Like, obviously, I have been injured this entire year. I
Literally.
have had to stop looking at even friends of mine stories and stuff like that because it's not even that I'm not happy for them. It's just knowing that everyone is progressing whilst I'm sat here probably doing the opposite.
It's very like that's very unique. And like I don't blame you because like particularly when you got injured, you were getting back into enjoying training again. Like
Mhm.
I think 2024 was a year of us just absolutely hating training and it took lots of big changes for us to finally start enjoying training again. And
Mhm.
then you get injured and it's like, ah!
I know. And the first thing I said was maybe I'll be happier without it, but like, am I planning to probably go back? Like, yeah. So yeah, we all say we hate it, but we have a love-hate relationship with it, I guess. It's
No, it's so Ross and Rachel.
it is so, yeah, and we are currently on a break. And I have experimented a bit with other things, but I'm probably gonna go straight back. So
Like trying to rip off people's heads in a cage.
yeah, yeah, a bit of that. Um, yeah, Pride episode. Happy Pride.
Happy Pride! Happy Pride! That's just for Chris Speed.
I have seen so many comments this month during Pride. Like, there's been a lot of great content, a lot of things of like just showing the parades and people having a good time,
Yeah.
very peacefully, just having a good time with their own community. And there are so many comments every damn year that are just, well, when's the straight people parade? And we've done Pride. Why is it still necessary? What are your thoughts on why is Pride still so important?
I mean, I feel like straight pride. Um, you guys have that every day. Um, and you specifically have it when the Six Nations rolls around. Like, but like it's I think pride is important because being queer is still illegal in many, many countries. People are still literally being murdered for it.
Mhm.
Hate crimes are on the rise, particularly at the trans community, and the rhetoric in the UK at the minute is grim
It's awful.
around
And
trans
America,
people.
like,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like America's a lost cause at this point. I
yeah.
don't really know what's going on there, but it's not good. Um, it's just very sinister, and I
Mhm.
think things are like slipping in a way that's like exponential. So it feels like, okay, well, people have started using gay meaning bad. And
Yeah.
then it's like, okay, well, they've just passed a law that now means that trans women can't use like women can't use a bathroom. without
Yeah.
someone going, "Have you got a foof? You don't look like you've got a foof."
Which is so like, I have people in my life that are trans women, and the thought of them having to go into a male bathroom terrifies me. They're not only having to go into, like, if I had to go and use a male bathroom as myself, as a cisgendered woman, like, I would be fucking terrified. And the thought that they're not only having to go in to a male bathroom and be terrified in that sense, they're also essentially outing themselves as someone who is different in that way, knowing
Yeah,
that there is not a great understanding of that in the world. And that opens them up to an extra level of abuse on top of that.
yeah,
Like, it's terrifying. And the thought of like the people that I care for that are possibly facing that. And I hope that other women like me, if they're in that situation, they will just be saying, like, you're just coming in the bathroom with me, like, you're not going in the men's toilets. I don't care. I hope that's the experience that they will have, but undoubtedly there are people experiencing the opposite, and
yeah.
it's genuinely terrifying.
And as someone who uses the men's bathroom, no one should be made to use that. It's disgusting. It's foul. Like
I've been
I'm.
in by accident before and like
Oh.
swiftly removed by security, but like I was aghast. Like the reason I was swiftly removed by security is because I was stood there, my jaw dropped. Like it's gross. This wasn't like
I
a walkabout, but
I literally I used the bathroom at work the other day, and I went for a tinkle, and literally I was peeing at the urinal, and some guy like literally was fighting for his life in the cubicle. Like I know that shit doesn't happen in the ladies' toilets. He's like literally like it sounds like like seagulls hitting a fucking wall, and
God,
he's like, "Fuck, oh fuck," and it's just like, "Oh my
that's,
God, shut up."
I
Shut
feel like
up.
women are going home if that's the situation. Like people, they're not,
No.
I don't know,
But
I can't speak for everyone, but
what I will say is, I did an interview and work with one of the consultants. Her name's Sarah Addison. She's lovely. Um, but she was saying that she sees lots of women now because they won't go and poo at work. So this is also a PSA that you need to poo when you need to poo. You should just go for a poo when you need to poo, providing there's a toilet. None of this litter box shit that I keep seeing and hearing about that the conservatives are ranting on about. Oh,
litter
schools in
box.
America are providing litter box for kids that identify as cats. No, they're not. They're not. Have
Did
you not
Trump
seen
start
it?
that by any chance?
I think so. I
Yeah,
think
okay.
so.
That adds up.
To go back to your original question, I think
Hmm.
practice is very important. Uh, just because I think now more than ever, we're seeing a decline in acceptance and safe spaces for queer people.
Yeah,
Um, And I think the visibility is really important. Sometimes, like seeing people who you might have thought were otherwise straight, and then it's like, okay, actually, you're you're safe.
yeah,
Not in like the like I'm gonna come and trauma dump on you, but like whatever happens to me could also happen to you.
yeah.
So you should care about it as well.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it's I think women are um less victim to the toxicity of it in that they don't they don't contribute to like this kind of toxic idea of kind of heterosexuality and queerness, whereas I think men are far more victim to wanting to fit in and be straight,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what leads them to be these vile little creatures of vitriol and just kind of just surviving somehow in a straight space of being like, yeah, everything that's bad is gay, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop slurs, but it's okay because I guess I can use them and like actually the closet's see-through. It's made of glass,
Yeah.
and you're not throwing anyone off your scent. Um, and if anything, you're contributing to a worse state for the rest of
Yeah.
us. Fuck
100%.
up.
I do think, like, I myself as someone that's not straight, but I'm in a straight presenting relationship. So I definitely have that, like, privilege that I know you've talked about before as well, being in the
Yeah.
same sort of situation. But I definitely, as a teenager or a young adult, and unfortunately, I'm not proud of this, but I will have said things like, "Oh, that's so gay," or "Don't be so gay," if someone doesn't want to do something. Like, I
Yeah.
know that I've said those things, which I hate that I've said
You
that.
know what you say
But
when you say that's so gay?
you're gonna Hillary Duff me, aren't you? Do it.
I know.
Go on.
That's so girl wearing a shirt.
Go wearing a skirt as a top.
Oh my God, I love it. It's so funny, but it's so pertinent to the conversation.
It's so sad that Hillary Duff went to all of that effort to end this so many years ago, and we're still sat here now. On that point, like I obviously used to say those things without meaning any hate, but not realizing
Yeah,
how toxic those statements are. So I can understand that there are people out there, unfortunately, still using them that probably feel like they're genuinely not doing any harm. In a
literally.
way, I find that it's kind of more difficult because if somebody all out just sits at a dinner table and calls out a slur, like, and you sit there and you're like, what the fuck did you
Whoa.
just say? Like, you can
Yeah.
go and no one's going to tell you that you're wrong for doing so. If somebody sits there and just goes, that's a bit gay, and you're like, excuse me, like, everyone's going to, like, oh, you're such a snowflake. Like, of
You're
course
getting
you're
offended at
offended. Oh,
everything.
this generation. And it's like, no, I'm calling it out because it's like, it's more damaging because you can't call those things out. You have to just sit there and take it. And that's
It's
not okay.
and what grinds my gears is it's the response of, oh, you can't say anything anymore.
Yeah.
Huh? Huh? What do you mean?
Yeah, I know.
Like, you wouldn't sit there and drop a horrible slur, and then when someone calls you out, go, oh, you can't say anything anymore. Yeah, because it's not the fucking
Yeah, no,
1960s.
you cannot say that. You absolutely can't say that. You can say plenty of other things that are,
Yeah,
non-derogatory towards a person, but like
yeah,
not that. When you call it out and people are still adamant that they're okay to say it, like that's when to me it becomes a worse thing because it's like this isn't now ignorance. You're now choosing to continue with this whilst
yeah,
knowing that that is upsetting people, while it's derogatory to people, whilst it's like
yeah,
harming people that are maybe battling with that themselves because they now know that you are not a safe person and that's another
yeah.
person that isn't safe to them. Like,
And because ultimately they didn't watch the Hillary Duff PSA commercial where that girl was wearing a skirt as a top.
I haven't seen Hillary in ages. Where is she in all of this?
I don't know.
We
I
need her
feel
back.
like, have you seen the Lizzie McGuire movie?
Of course, I've seen the
Of
Lisa.
course. Okay. I just checking because like Miss Ungermeyer,
Yeah,
she ate with that little flag on her backpack.
absolute icon. Yeah. So, you've spoken a little bit on other podcasts, obviously, about your experience growing up.
Yeah.
Um, do you mind sharing a little bit? Like, I don't want you to have to repeat a ton, but do you mind sharing a little bit about like your experience navigating
Yeah.
this
Talk about it.
this topic growing up?
I can be significantly more um open because having done a recent one for an NGB and having worked in an NGB, one of the main things that I took away from it is that I would never work in an NGB again. But
Hmm.
also, um, things are heavily censored. It's like I don't know why saying things like trans people are human and they deserve human rights is so controversial, but things like that don't make the cut. Um, I
Really?
you have to be so careful what you say as like a national sporting. I can never grasp why it's such a minefield navigating it. And I don't necessarily think the people in it are are evil. A lot of them like people that I've worked with have really good morals and like are on the right side of history with it. But then the flip side of that is like, oh, there's certain things you can't say, like you can't have an opinion, you can't like it's just weird. It's weird. It's weird.
That's
Um,
terrible.
but growing up, I will now share my experiences. Um, so I always knew I was different. Um, whether that's a touch of the tism or whether that's being a raging bisexual, um, I don't know. Um, but I think I struggled with it a lot. I remember some guy came out as bi, and I think I was in year nine at the time. Um, and I didn't know what I was feeling because it's really strange. You know there's something that's not totally up,
Mhm.
but you know you feel like it's wrong, so you kind of like push it down, and then that kind of manifests as this weird, like, I don't really know what's going on here. Um, And plus, like, I'd been bullied like throughout primary school and secondary school for being gay, despite the fact that I'm not gay. It's like they could literally smell it on me. Um, and um, and I just remember he came out as bi, and I was like, oh my God, I think I'm that. I think maybe this person is safe enough that I could like talk to them about it. Um, that we'd had like sleepovers and stuff. Like we were quite close that summer,
Hmm.
and then came the April Fools.
That's so bad. Had you spoken to them about it when they
No,
April Fool's
no,
it? So that came.
no.
But that
Um,
obviously then you were like, oh, I can't.
I was like, okay, so that's not a thing. But I remember another instance where I think it was about year 10 or 11. And I think it was year 11 because I was on study leave and I used to go bowling with some friends from school. Um, and like we were sat in McDonald's and there was like a group of girls hitting on one of them. I was really close to this with this guy. Like, he's lovely and he really wasn't interested. So he just was like, "Oh no, I'm sat with my boyfriend," and like grabbed my hand as like a joke.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, that felt natural."
Yeah.
It's not like that immediate like, ew, gross. Which I assume all straight people feel when they touch someone of the same sex.
I
Uh,
don't
um,
know.
I don't know either. Um, but um, but that was kind of like, oh no, I could see myself dating uh, a man. Obviously not at 16, that's gross. But uh, like, it's um, there wasn't an immediate feel of like, oh, that's unnatural, that's wrong,
Mhm.
that's it was just kind of like, okay, well that felt normal. Um, and I
This
didn't.
makes so much sense to me, actually. Like it's something that I don't really like talk about, but
Yeah.
like in school, I had situations where me and one of my female friends were just kind of gazing at each other lovingly, I guess. And before you know it, there's this crash, and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? Our English teacher threw a Bible at us. They were
That's
like, that is not
thing.
how young ladies interact with each other. And I'm like, we were just like, we weren't even touching. We were just like, just
And
having a
she's
bit,
like
you know.
pulling your tongue from out her throat. Like,
Like literally, it's like we weren't doing anything, but we got hit with a Bible, and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's
that's
the
quite
attitude."
chic.
And I had like friends that, looking back, weren't my friends. I know this is again is probably a story for another day, but what I thought were friendships in school, it turns out I was probably being bullied. That's fine. Um, they would like take my phone when it was on the bench thingies in PE. And
Yeah.
like this is back in the days where it was like a Nokia and it's like enter
Brick.
star and that's it unlocked, like you're in. And they I can see for anyone listening and not watching, Harry is being attacked by a golden retriever right now. Hey Barney.
Funny, it's also gay.
He's cute, so we forgive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I they would like take my phone and look through my messages and stuff like that. And like one of my female friends that we were genuinely just friends, but I guess like super close, and some of our messages were
Yeah.
a bit lovey kind of thing as friends. They were looking through and they came up to me and they were just like, I don't know if you're gay or what, but you need to delete those messages before more people see and stuff like this. And I'm like, why are you even like
It's like it's in my
it's
phone.
in my phone for a start. Secondly, like me and my friend are just being like, and yeah, looking back, like I would probably cringe if I saw the messages because they were probably like, but it
But
wasn't
it's
even
like
a thing. And it's like the fact
my
that
phone.
these could
It's
have
my
been
phone.
things, but they weren't things, but they were made
Yeah.
out to be terrible is like
That's so
it's the
rude.
same situation where it's like, how are you supposed to accept certain things about yourself if you're literally just being told constantly that they're unacceptable
Yeah.
and that you
That's
need to
so
hide them or
rude.
delete them?
I would have like specifically to go into your phone and be like, you need to delete those in case someone else sees them. It's my phone.
You know what? Two of those bitches follow me too, and I hope they see this.
This is actually the messy
Do I
podcast.
name? No, I'm joking. We don't name. Hopefully they've grown up and we've moved on. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yes.
like I
Clearly we both moved on.
yeah, exactly. I don't care, whatever. No, like obviously that's super hurtful and that annoys me, but at the time I was just humiliated. Like I wasn't going to
Yeah.
stick up for that because I was just humiliated. And I think like I actually find it quite easy to accept things about myself, but it probably would have been like, especially as someone that has a literal personality disorder, it would have been handy to know some shit about myself a little bit sooner.
You have that bestie princess disorder, right?
I sure do. Sure do. So yeah, that would have been useful info for me to just tell myself a little bit sooner.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, because it probably would have explained a lot of kind of your interactions um and obviously it made you far more vulnerable
Hmm.
to those bullies,
Hmm.
um, which is probably the best way to describe them.
Yeah.
Um, and you best believe I'll Millie Bobby Brown their ass. Like
They write happy birthday on my Facebook wall every year. And I look at it like, please.
you're like, I hope it's your last year.
Has anyone from your past, like from school or anything? Because I imagine that you, as a bi male, that they thought was too feminine, I'm guessing, or certain things. Like,
I'm
I'm
actually
guessing
really
that you have
masculine.
achieved so much more athletically than any of those straight dickheads that made you feel like you hated yourself. Like, have any
Yeah.
of them ever come out of the woodwork and like congratulated you, or are they writing happy birthday on your wall every year? Like,
No, they're on a block list.
okay.
But I think I've seen them previously.
Hmm.
Some of them know what's up and they know not to interact with me because I'm not interested in any of it.
Hmm.
Uh, and then others, it's like, oh, you'll see them at Spoons or whatever. And it's like,
Why are you in spoons?
I went Christmas time last year, um, as I like on Christmas Eve, with, like my cousins and stuff, like the first time ever. And then like, it's more like since leaving school, um, I haven't had an interaction with them since I've kind of done the weightlifting stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but previously, like I lost a lot of weight from like year 11 to sixth form.
Hmm.
Um, so where it was like, oh, you're fat and slow. It's like, oh, actually, I'm like shredded now and quite athletic. Um, so that was always like a talking point where they're like, oh my God, you're so lean now. Like, oh, you look great. And it's like, I'm really not interested in talking to you. And they probably knew that because
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, cool, thanks. Like when you're interacting with someone who's like like hammered, and you're just like, yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
Like it just. So I've not really had any interactions with people from school, which I'm quite grateful.
Yeah.
Still friends with. I have kind of like two friends from school that I'll keep in tabs with, not frequently, but like um Georgia, who was my best in school. She's a raging lesbian. Her and her girlfriend Emma are so sweet. I love them both. She's a history teacher, which is like insane to me. And it's interesting because she works in a really supportive place where they let her do really cool stuff for like for like Pride and stuff.
That's
So that's
cool.
really sweet to see. Um, but yeah, no, like I think if I was living in Caerphilly and like going out a lot more, and I probably would see those people. Um, but I think it's different now. I think I certainly back myself in that I don't want to talk to certain people, so I won't.
Mhm.
I don't really care if it makes it awkward. Um, it's yeah. I feel like I toe a line between like live and learn and sit and loathe.
Yeah.
It's sort of like I'm healing, I'm letting go. I'm like don't get me wrong, like last year, and you kind of can probably attest to this, and you probably watched it happen in real time. I let go of a lot of things that didn't serve me. And right, I love the Brittany Broski report. Like that's my favorite podcast. She's mother. She like but she has spoken a lot about like letting go of things that don't serve you. And I hadn't really considered it before, but like I look at last year and I'm like, I let go of a lot of things that didn't
Yeah.
serve me. And it was kind of shit in the moment. Like you lose friends, you lose like people who you used to talk to a lot.
Just
But
so you know, the things that you let go of, I'm still mad about for you. To get that out there. I'm still mad. But yeah, carry on.
and when you scrape the surface, I still am too. But letting go of those things and those people, like they were not good for me. And um, in doing so, I think I've been able to become a more authentic version of myself.
Yeah.
Um, and I couldn't have done that without doing that. And I think actually, um, like I'm far happier now.
Yeah.
I love my life. I love my job. I love Georgia. I love the puppies. Um, like we live with Georgia's parents, and like I love them both. They're so funny and just nice to be around.
Mhm.
I love my family. Like they're really supportive. I'm closer with my sister than I have been in years. Um, One of those reasons is because of a big change I made in my life.
Yeah.
Um, but actually, like looking back at it now, you're just kind of like, wow, you were miserable. Like
Mhm.
you hated yourself. You, you, I mean, I've lent into being campy because it's comfortable. Um, and I think that I'd feared it for so long during my childhood that people are going to think that I'm gay, or people are going to think that I'm worth less than other people because of the way that I am. And actually, you'd spend so long being kind of like exhausted,
Yeah.
carrying around this burden, um, that you just you can't do it anymore. And I
No.
think some people reach that stage and they have a very different reaction. Um, and that's where you have like and that's the reason that the queer community has such a high incidence of like suicide and
Mhm.
self-harm and you know when you cut gender affirming care, you're getting rid of life-saving care,
Yeah.
having to face the reality of who you are. And there are plenty of people that I know that are living in denial of who they are,
Yeah.
um, because it goes against what you know, like particularly those that were raised in the church. And my my experience of church is I went to Sunday school as a kid. I didn't love Sunday school.
Mhm.
Churches are cold,
Yeah.
for starters. Like, would it kill you to put the radiators on? Probably not.
They even have radiators. I cannot picture a church having a radiator right now.
They had like these big old pipes, and I'm not talking about the preachers. But like they it wasn't a Catholic church. It was a Church of England or Church of Wales. Or, I don't know the denomination. It's the church that basically Henry VIII set up because he wanted a divorce. I
Yeah.
think that puts it into perspective of how valid that religion is. Um, but I think like my experience of churches, they were all lovely. But there's like certain things in there that I'm like, oh, we're not quite the same. Like, do I think that those people that attended that church um, are homophobic? No. They love everyone. Do I still think that the majority of them believe that marriage is between a man and a woman? Yeah. Do I actually think that they'd go out in the street and start preaching that and be like, you shouldn't be married because you're gay? No, I don't. But there's a part of them that's like, well, the Bible says that marriage is between a man and a woman. And I was like, well,
Yeah.
actually, it's been translated for thousands of years. So what you're reading is not what the Bible is. But
Yeah.
that's a whole other story in itself. Um, but it's interesting because it's like I think a lot of the discrimination comes from that people not being able to separate the person from the value, and
Mhm.
you seem to hold these really weird values that I find really alien, and now like they're just so anti like things that they don't understand. People
Yeah.
feel what they don't understand. And if they took the moment to understand it, then I don't think we'd have half of like it's it's a very similar rhetoric to what we have in the UK at the minute with like immigrants. So
Mm.
people that are fleeing conflict, people that are leaving war zones and coming to the UK, crossing the channel, making this life-threatening journey,
Yeah.
and they're like they're illegal. Number one, no, they're not. Like to be an illegal immigrant would be to overstay your visa.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, those people haven't got a visa because they're seeking asylum.
Yeah.
And you're not illegal if you're seeking
No,
asylum.
you can literally, yeah.
So it's
Literally.
like and but people have been like hounded with like illegals crossing the channel. Okay, well, if you actually went in and like looked into it, you'd go, well, they're not illegal. So
But
that
also,
kind of
let's say they were, like, if people took the time to look at the journeys those people have been through before they're at the point where they're crossing the channel, like, put yourself in those shoes and tell me that you would have the same feeling if you were the person coming in. Like, because
exactly.
you're, like, I was born in England, like someone else that was born in like a third world country. Like, to an extent, that's kind of luck. I didn't do anything to be
Lottery.
born in England and have certain rights and have like access to certain things. The same as those people didn't do anything to be born in a country where they don't have access to that. Like, I've not, that
Yeah.
doesn't feel like it should be mine. And I know that in certain legal senses, like certain things are, I guess, mine and not theirs. But like as a human being that has empathy for other human beings,
Yeah.
why me and not them? And why should that not be? And I'm not saying that certain things don't affect the running of countries and stuff like that. This is why it's that there has to be balance in certain ways. I'm not going to pretend that I know the answers, but the bottom line is, I think as a human, you want other humans to be okay. If they've not
Yeah.
done anything wrong, like it really does kind of boil down to that when you're looking at like your final stance is that do you want other humans to be put through the stuff that they're going through? And if you don't know what they're going through, and if you've got this opinion that they're coming over on
Learn
some
about.
sort of jolly, please look it up and then see if that like
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I find it so hard, like people that hold because politics is like I feel like we it feels like 10 years ago the worst thing a conservative politician could have done was put his penis in in a pig's head. Like or run through fields of wheat and be a bit cringe. Now it's like oh they're actively donating to campaigns that are trying to strip women of their bodily autonomy or
Mhm.
like put like people who've fled war into a concentration camp. Like it's horrible. And I think like politics is in this weird state where actually now when it's like, oh well, I'm fiscally conservative, but you can't separate that from the social stuff. So
No.
whilst you're saying, oh, I want to be taxed less, you're also saying, I also think that trans people deserve to die. And that clip will be taken out of context. I that it'll just be that clip,
I'm
me
just gonna
saying
clip
that,
that.
yeah, and it'll be put on a story and be like, he's cancelled.
I'm gonna
Um,
save all of these bits just in case you wrong me.
um, but anywho, it now you can't separate the fiscal from the social. It's like it's all in one.
Yeah,
And and now what we're looking at is like the rise of fascism and time is a flat circle. The rhetoric is the same. Um, it's it's scary.
yeah,
And
it
and I
is.
think like people aren't immune from discrimination. And I think that, you know, whilst some people would probably look at me and being like, oh, well, you're bisexual and you're in a relationship with a woman. So actually, if anything really bad happens and they start hunting the gays down, you're safe. Well, I've actually been very vocal about my sexuality.
Yeah,
So, like, if you've been vocal about it, like when I'm filling out the census, I'm ticking that I'm bisexual and
yeah.
like because that representation is really important to me.
Do you remember like last year I was applying for a job somewhere
Oh
And
yeah.
I messaged you because I was like, I don't know what box to tick. And you were like, if you don't know what box to tick, like your ticket. And I was like, no, I don't mean like that. I'm very fucking aware. What I mean is like, I don't necessarily identify as bi. I probably identify more as like the pan route, I guess,
Yeah.
because I just it doesn't really matter. I just fall in love with the person. Like that's that. And I was like, in this generation, I feel like if I tick a box that says other, the person reading it is going to be someone that's like 20 years older than me and that's going to go, oh, one of them, and like push it to the side. And
One of them queers.
yeah, like one of that, like she's going to come in and she's going to make all of this about her and stuff like that. And I'm like, I
She's
actually
gonna
just want to
have
live my
blue
life, but
hair.
I don't
She's gonna
want
have
to
a
have to
pixie
hide.
cut.
I don't want to have to hide part of my identity in doing it.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
not like that actually isn't relevant to any job I've applied for ever. So
And that's the thing, it's not relevant.
no.
It's not relevant to how well you can do a job. Contrary to Marge on the was it Madge? Marge on Benidorm. Have you seen Benidorm?
I've watched, I couldn't watch anymore. I've
Where
tried, but no.
she's like, very lazy race, the gays, but you can't say anything to them because they're a minority. That's so stupid. Um, but like your sexuality has nothing to do with how well you can do a job. I understand that it's collecting data for diversity and inclusion,
Mhm.
and that's important because like whilst some people view diversity and inclusion as, oh well, it's making sure that um like like it's hard because like DEI stuff is really important because like the world shouldn't be white men, straight
Yeah.
white men,
Mhm.
cisgendered straight white men in senior positions. Like I love my job.
Mhm.
Uh, our CCO and our CMO, they're both women, and for a long time it was literally just women leading the company until we recently got a new CEO in. Um, and actually, like that's really important in representation because well, women make up half the population, and then you're going to tell me that they don't make up half of the leading positions in companies. Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
men aren't just better, and this whole rhetoric that women are like more emotional. Like, have you seen what's going on with the world right now?
Yeah.
Like, it's
We're
being led by
entitled to
men
the
who are
a
far
few
too
little
emotional.
tears.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Um,
It is
but it's like
terrible.
the the inclusion is important, and I see it as like it's essential. But then the other part of me really struggles with it because I'm like, well, what the fuck does that have to do with me doing a
Yeah.
job? Like, apart from the fact that like some of the content creation that I do, like, yeah, okay, I've got a bit of a limp wrist. That means that my design's a little bit nicer than the odd straight male. Like,
Like,
I know what a hex code is. Like,
I didn't even know what a hex code was. You have to tell me.
so hex codes are just the codes for colors.
Well, I know
Um,
now.
but like it's it's important and it's not important, and I kind of sway back and forth on where it
Yeah.
is. Yeah, I kind of forgot where I was going with this point, but
I think there is like sometimes debate over whether a male can be a feminist. And I think like in my opinion, like you proved that yes, a male can be a feminist. Like I truly wholeheartedly believe that you are more informed on certain topics than a lot of women, to be honest. Like you really are. And I wonder like if part of that comes down to you actually being subjected to similar experiences as a like for example in day-to-day life like if I have an opinion on something like I will see a straight man who is very masculine and very stereotypical share an opinion on something on a story or even in just part of a conversation or on a phone call. And they are just outspoken. They're speaking their mind. That's so brave of them. Like, amazing.
yeah.
I share the same thing. I'm emotional. I'm bitchy. I'm being passive aggressive. I'm trying to, and I feel like, unfortunately, you probably
Lest we
come across
forget
the same.
Orange
Like,
Day.
yeah. And there's things like that where I'm like, I feel that you unfortunately experience like some of the really shit parts of being a woman, which is ridiculous because you are a man. Not that we should have to deal with it either, but
I get it.
it's
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from. And I think part of it is like a lot of the time people say like, oh, be the bigger person. and you just turn the other shoulder and you look away and you think, what a sad little life they have, Jane, that they still believe that. When
Hmm.
actually, I think sometimes being the bigger person is turning around and going, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
This is why I'm going to tell you why you're wrong.
Yeah.
And that doesn't lend itself to being perceived as well.
No.
But it's exactly the same as like, oh, like oh, it comes across as really passive aggressive and bitchy. Like the term bitch in itself is inherently misogynistic.
Yeah.
Like, but when you look at kind of like, let's take Orange Gate, for example. For those of you who don't aware, I literally on my close friend story, me and Georgia were writing a squat program, and we were doing some branding and marketing, and um, the color orange is used a lot in fitness because it's kind of like, oh, it's active, it's like it's trusting, and it's like people use it because it's like scientifically proven that it like associates with fitness. Um, I hate orange. I I loathe orange like Madonna loathes hydrangeas. Like I think it's tacky. I think it's gross. And I say that George's brand colors are orange. So when we were going through doing the squat program, we were looking at a rebrand, and it was like, I quite like the greens, I like the blacks, I like it's so. Anywho, I digress. On my story, I put a picture of Pearl from the movie Pearl, who is played by Mia Goth, crying after she's just murdered her mother. Um, with like me, if I ever have to see another fitness professional use orange. Now, we had some snakes in the garden that day. Because that story made its way around. And it was like, oh, I need to be careful because I'm being passive aggressive and bitchy about orange, about the color orange. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, but that's a prime example of like someone could literally put on their fucking story, I hate the color blue, and then like people are making fucking leaps and bounds being like, you hate the NHS, you hate the NH, you hate socialized medicine. Like, no, I hate the color blue.
Yeah.
Like in the same way, I hate the color orange. Like it's got nothing to do with the people using it and everything to do with the color orange. Like, and unfortunately, that's something I inherited from my mother. My mother hates orange. It's just like I quite like a pumpkin because they're cute.
Oh yeah.
But
And
I
autumnal vibe. No. Yeah.
yeah, but I wonder how much of the response to that was because I'm effeminate and I behave in a certain way and
Mhm.
I don't pertain to traditional values of masculinity. Like it's so Taylor Swift the man. Because if I was a man, I'd be the man. I'd be a bitch, not a baller. Like it,
Yeah.
it's a prime example of kind of I often wonder if it comes from a place of misogyny. And
Mhm.
I I feel like this is either going to have two different responses online. But because I am not heterosexual, you view me as less in that you're like, because I do the things that you perceive women to do in the bedroom per se, I must therefore be less than you. And it's the whole thing of hazing in college fraternities where they make them do gay things. Like they're just sexually assaulting them,
Yeah.
one. Um,
That's
but you view gay sex as less than heterosexual sex. And that's societal and that impacts your view on how you interact with game. It's a joke to you. Like, and that's wrong, one.
mhm.
But then that bleeds into other aspects of how you then view queer people. And I think unfortunately, in that instance, I was passive aggressive and bitchy and not a baller. You know?
To break it down, yeah. I
Yeah.
think it
Which
is sad. And it's I mean, obviously it's great that you are able to spot certain things that other men without that experience maybe don't necessarily spot. And some, I'll give some like some credit that people try and learn, but like a lot don't. You are able to spot them and advocate for people in a way that I think a lot of people probably just can't because they're not going to see it. I was looking at statistics on sexual assault in the LGBTQ, it's all about me.
Lesbian, gay, and queer community.
In the LGBTQ plus community. I was looking up basically men, like in general, the reports of having been sexually harassed. So anything from like words and messages, I guess,
Yeah.
from right up there. It's hazy because of different surveys, but it's anything between 4 and 20% of men. I looked up the stats for gay people in general, and it was 7 out of 10, so 70% of gay men.
I think,
Like, that's insane. That's an insane jump.
yeah, I think what people need to understand is the enemy here is cis heterosexual men, and that goes not sorry, it's just cis men in general, and it goes right across the board because when you consider that women are followed home, they're like upskirted photos and things like that.
Mhm.
Men pursue something of a sexual interest exactly the same way across the board.
Yeah.
Like whether they're gay, straight, bi, trans is irrelevant. Um, you should see my DM requests sometime.
I was gonna say, I don't know how far in to go, but I obviously have seen some stuff being your best
Yeah,
friend, but also like even just your TikTok comments sometimes.
yeah,
Like some of them are pretty explicit.
yeah.
And I
I wouldn't
wonder
even call them
if
lewd.
you feel like your openness about your sexuality, like, do you feel that that makes you more vulnerable to that?
Um,
Because I'm not seeing that on our male, like other male athletes that we follow that have big followings. Like I'm not seeing certain levels of comment on them.
yeah, I think sometimes it is dependent on maybe some of the content that you post,
Yeah.
uh, not to victim shame, um, by any means.
No.
Um, there's, but it is explicitly men. Like, um, I mean, there are plenty of women who are abusive, and
Hmm.
I know being in or being queer puts you at a higher risk of, you know, domestic violence and abuse. And I've previously been quite open about that. Um, but in terms of like sexual violence, I think a lot of it very normalized the hookup culture, and you'll have very young um, kids, essentially 16 and under, on things like Grindr, who don't know a lot about sex, don't know a lot about and they're meeting up with men who are in their 20s. Like, whether or not you thought you consented, if you're under 16, you didn't.
Yeah.
And I think like it's then it then like much later on in life, you're like, oh shit, yeah, that was dangerous. That
Yeah.
guy was creepy. And there are plenty of fucking creeps out there, and there are plenty of men who like this whole emergence of like alpha male and all of that from the fucking Andrew Tate lot. Like, it's poison and it's cancerous, and unfortunately it's on the rise. Um, and I think sexual abuse within the queer community, it can come in many forms. Um, and I think some of it is 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 circumstantial in that there's hookup culture and young queer people not knowing like all of these best practices, but also but also the majority of it is men pursue men exactly the way they pursue women. And that's like I've had some horrible DMs.
Yeah.
Um, like people just dropping like the R word into a DM is wild. Like I'll find where you live and I'll kill you with a rock. Like,
No, that's
yes. And it's always an anonymous profile.
Yeah, of course it is.
Um,
I've been like trolled before on Insta and stuff like that, and it was always like the fake profile. You know, like no
yeah,
one has the balls to say anything. And like in that case, like I guess you'll get arrested. So
yeah.
I get, but like, why are you sending that in the first place? Who sends that to another person?
My go-to at the minute when I get really lewd stuff on TikTok is I report them for being underage.
Yeah,
Their profile gets flagged. They have to provide an ID to basically say that
that's
they
so
are over.
smart. Okay,
So
anyone
then,
getting trolled? These are tips
yeah.
for you.
So then you can hopefully just find a way that they have to submit their ID.
Because then
Um,
if it's reported that they're doing something of that
then
nature,
hopefully there's a
there's a name to
trail.
it.
Yeah. Um, there's that, or you can find their car and their license plate and then go through the DVLA, but that's a little bit more um, convoluted. Is that the right word to use? Um, but um, but yeah, no, it's rife across everything. I mean,
Yeah.
was it 1 in 10 men is is a sexual offender or something? Um, like if you had a box of 10 Maltesers, number one, where's the rest of them? But number two, if one of them is like shit coated in chocolate, you probably wouldn't risk your chances.
No, it's not worth
No, you wouldn't, because you don't want poopy mouth. So when and I was talking to George about this morning. Funny enough, it's like when you look at men who hate feminism, it's because it's teaching women to be misandrists. Well, no, it's not, because feminism is, it's equality. And then like it's men who don't have an understanding that their job is to speak up and
Yeah.
speak out. And when you don't do that, you then you perpetuate abusive cycles.
Yeah.
So if your boys on the lads weekend are being like, oh yeah, I fucking shagged this bird, mate. I fucking stuck it in. I didn't even like. Okay, well that's salt.
Yeah.
Call them out.
Yeah,
There's
definitely.
there's a Scottish comedian. I don't know his name. Um, but he did a really good piece on something very similar where he's like, you need to call out that behavior in your friendship group, because when you don't, it leads to really bad things. And he
Yeah.
knows, because a friend of his R-worded another friend of his. And he's like, I hold that on me because I didn't call out those
Oh,
behaviors.
yeah.
Um, yeah. So it's you'll probably be labeled abrasive. You'll probably be labeled outspoken and you can't take a joke, but
What's the alternative though in
yeah.
situations like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I think those stats for the queer community are really important, but I also think looking at it as a whole of there's a lot of work we need to do with young men.
Hmm.
It like you shouldn't have to be like that's someone's sister, that's someone's mother, that's someone's brother to humanize them.
No.
It shouldn't be the link that in order to care, you have to relate it to being a family member.
No.
Like it feels like when you're teaching kids that pinching is bad and you go, how would you feel if it was you? And they're like, oh, I wouldn't like it. Yes, so don't do it. Like that, you're not a toddler. You are
No.
fully grown.
No.
You have a job. Like,
This is something I know that me and husband get like he'll sometimes say to me when I'm upset about something, he's like, tell the person that you're upset about this behavior. And my view is like quite often a bit of a
yeah,
social
you suggest
justice.
that.
Yeah, a bit of a social justice stance where I'm kind of like, I shouldn't have to tell a friend that that's hurt me. If they were my friend, they would see it anyway.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, he's probably right that I do need to be calling stuff out because stuff doesn't necessarily get seen by everyone. But at the same
yeah.
time, some of this just feels so obvious that it's
Why can't you
like,
see
how are
that?
you mad at people for just existing, like, as
Yeah.
themselves? How does that affect you? Why are you having these opinions? Like, why does someone have to question that? Why does
Yes.
someone have to say, like, do you realize that's wrong? And I'll explain why. Like, just don't. Why do you think that?
Do
Why is
you
that your
realize what
opinion?
you
You're
say when
wrong.
you say that's okay?
So annoying.
Yeah. It just, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I don't necessarily know what that is, and I don't have the
Yeah.
answers to that. But I feel like there's a huge like population of the population
Yeah.
who just it's just cancerous.
Yeah.
And it's like the rise of reform. I'm
Mhm.
horrified. I'm
I couldn't
like,
believe when the results were coming in, like I was just looking at things thinking like, is this a meme? On
but
like
it also goes
genuinely
to
looking
show
at like diagrams thinking, is this a meme that
it
someone's done
also
to like
goes to
wind us
show
up?
that
And it
they
was
have
real.
no idea what they're voting for. You were running for local election. These people are fixing the potholes, and you're talking about the boats. I'm still in like the new notice board group, and when they were running for local election, there was uh the reform candidate for the area, um who I can only assume is using some sort of chatbot to write all of their responses. And there's a racist undertone in all of the posts. Everything is just like make Britain great again. Like Britain was never great to begin with, so pipe down.
Yeah.
Um, and I'd watched and watched and watched, and we were on holiday, and I was like, I'm gonna chime in because she had a bit of a meltdown, and started like basically being like, if you don't like it, you can move to Afghanistan. And this woman's like, well, I don't want to move to Afghanistan, um, because I'm born in the UK, I've lived in the UK. I just want the UK to be better and more representative of my politics, and yours aren't it.
Yeah.
And she was like, well, if the burqa fits. And we were like, so I'd screenshot all these. Basically, she deleted the post and got rid of it, which is really funny. And then she put up a post about basically being like, there are lies and screenshots being spread about me. I never said these things. Like,
No.
it's fake news. Like, it was like out of a Trump playbook. So
Oh my God.
I was
You've
like,
been caught.
yeah. So I commented on it. I was like, I did some snooping first. So, you head straight to company's house, you see where this person lives, you look at the valuation of the house. Oh, would you look at that? It's just over 1 million. So
Mm.
she's not a normal person.
No.
She's living in the most expensive property in Newent. So she's not running for the people.
No, of course not.
And she has like a financial services. This is probably doxing at this point. Um, Um, but basically, I commented on the post being like, "Hi, I'm really sad to hear this." Oh shit, I just said her name as well. You're gonna have to blur that out.
I will, yeah, I'll put a little dolphin noise over.
Oh, like in SpongeBob. I love that. I was like, "Hi, so and so. Um, I just purchased 2 tickets to Afghanistan after your last comment. Unfortunately, after this, I will no longer be attending. Would you be able to reimburse me for my plane tickets? Failing that, you could release the equity on your 1.2 million pound house."
I'm
And
guessing you
that,
didn't get a reply.
that post got removed. I was like, I did the Lord's work. It
You
was
sure
great.
did. Well, good. I'm glad
Yeah.
people stood
We're
up
like,
for
we'll just get rid of this section on the podcast. It's just me doxing some
that.
70 woman racist.
I'll go through all this. You're okay. So, relationship wise,
Yeah.
obviously you're interested in men and women, but you have long-term relationship has always been
With
like
girl.
women, really.
I have
Um,
long-term relationship with girl, yes.
do you think there's anything within society that, or like the dating world in general, that has made that like more the case, or do you think it is just coincidence that you've met who you've met and that's who you've liked?
I think so. Um, I know you are more comfortable with pan in that it's kind of like you like the person, not the label. I
Yeah,
feel very much the same.
yeah,
Um, I think I think I would probably use the term pan more if it was more widely accepted.
yeah. I
I
can't be
just
bothered to explain it honestly to
Yeah,
people. Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense. I'm just like I can't be asked to explain this.
Mm.
Um, I think a lot of it is who I've met.
Yeah,
Um, Sometimes fortunately, sometimes unfortunately.
yeah,
Uh, and I've been very, very lucky with meeting Georgia. Um, she gets it, she understands it. Um, and it's kind of like it just means that the dating pool's a bit bigger.
yeah,
Like I'm I was never one for like things like one night stands, just icky. and that's not me trying to shame people. It just made
No,
me
but
think.
that's your feeling. Yeah.
Um, like I'm someone that dates to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
Um, so I think because of that, like there are lots of gays who want open relationships. I think monogamy in the queer sense can sometimes be hard to come across,
Yeah.
and bisexuality is unfortunately being attracted to men, but the privilege of being attracted to women. So I've been very, very grateful to have met Georgia.
Mhm.
Her brother's gay, and um, she and their upbringing has been very not even liberal, but um, like they went to Vancouver Pride on a family holiday, like, and this is
Oh,
before Louis was out,
so
so it's like
cool.
it's really sweet,
Mm.
um and G's mum in particular is very aligned with a lot of these views, um it's refreshing to have those conversations with people who get it.
Yeah.
um and I think um there are some like conversations, me and Georgia, where it's like um I can't grasp looking at someone and then being like, I'm not attracted to you because you're the same sex to me.
Yeah.
I can't grasp it. I'm
Yeah.
like in the same way that she can't grasp, like, because I'm being like, what? Like, you don't look at like some women and you're like, "Phaw." Like
She's
it's
like,
just
no.
like, oh no, it's a girl. I don't like girls. I'm like, but I suppose that again just kind of goes to show that sexuality isn't a choice, because if you had the
Mm.
option of being with a woman, you'd take it over a man any day of the week. Um,
Apparently not, because
but
I have
I
that
mean,
choice. But
I feel like husband is a golden nugget in
we're lucky. I think we're both fortunate in that we now have partners that are understanding of that.
and not
And
evil.
I think I had a conversation with him the other day about this question actually, because I spoke to him about this podcast before we were
Yeah,
doing it. And he said, "What would your answer to that question be?" And I was kind of like, when I think about it, I my self-esteem is pretty much on the floor, like in most situations.
yeah,
Um, so in a relationship, I already go through a lot of stages where I feel undeserving, or like I
yeah,
don't deserve to be loved, or they deserve so much more than me. And like these are thoughts that I have daily and that I have to work through, like to
yeah,
quite a high level. If I was with a female, I feel like I would also have a direct comparison that like this isn't something I've ever heard anyone talk about on
yeah,
like anything. So I don't know if this is normal, if this is literally just me at the height of paranoia and like
yeah,
low self-esteem, but like I feel like I would be comparing everything. I'd be comparing how we looked in clothes, how we look without clothes. Like I'd be comparing everything and being like they're better than me, and
yeah,
like would have that solid. Whereas like obviously Harry, like I can feel shit and he doesn't make me feel shit. This is all me. But
yeah,
he does everything he can to make me feel better about this stuff. But I can look and have those feelings, but I can't directly say that one of us, like if we're looking at a dress, I'm probably gonna look a little bit better in it than he is, like
yeah.
anything.
I think his hairy chest would look really nice in a dress.
But like, yeah, there's not that direct comparison. And I just think that extra layer would probably push me over the edge with some of this stuff. And I don't know if that's normal. I don't know if that's something anyone else on this planet feels, because I've never heard anyone speak about it.
That's really weird. You need to get help.
Oh, okay.
No, it is interesting because there's there seems to be a phenomenon in with men who date men, in that sometimes it's like they look like siblings.
Oh,
Um,
okay. I've never
but
seen that. I'm trying to think of couples, and I don't know a single one that fits that.
wow, your world is so small.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe.
no, sometimes I think it's because your idea of beauty is kind of sometimes based on what you look like.
Mm.
So you are your kind of own beauty standard, in that when it comes to selecting someone who you want as a mate, you're either going to look for something that, like, oh, I like how I look. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable with how I look. So I'm looking for something that I'm comfortable with. Or you're like, I hate the way I look. And obviously that this is really generalized. And, I'm not saying that anyone who has a partner that looks different to them is because they hate themselves. But I think it's very nuanced. But I think sometimes you end up in relationships with people who look very similar,
Yeah.
just because that's kind of your idea of the beauty standard and that's what you think looks good. So you kind of subconsciously are more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
I could be talking up my ass though. So
That's
um,
an interesting point though.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's very yeah, I think it's very different for everyone. I think like trying to explain to like Georgia that you know I don't have a type per
Yeah.
se. Um,
I think we've had this conversation a little bit before, though, when people
yeah.
haven't understood certain things like, oh, do you not need to experiment more before settling down? And it's in the
Mm,
same way that if, say, like a woman marries just a man and they're both straight and it's that straightforward,
mm,
should she have gone and slept with more people before she really like finalized that decision? Should he have?
exactly.
Like, if you've met the person that you want to be with, you've met the person you want to be with. It doesn't really matter like that you haven't been with like a
Yeah.
blonde or like
Sorry, I haven't slept with everyone on planet Earth.
what I mean. It doesn't matter that you haven't checked off every single type of person that you could potentially have in your pool of dating. Like you've
Yeah,
chosen the one that you want to be with, and that's that. And that
yeah.
should be the end of
Like I
that.
chose you
Like,
out of everyone. You should be grateful.
yeah, I chose you out of a fucking massive pool.
I chose you out of everyone on planet Earth, and you're telling
Literally.
me that I need to go and sleep with a male sex worker to get it out my system. Like, how dare you?
Yeah, but literally, how dare you? Because that, like, you are, firstly, like, you're questioning somebody's sexuality. Like, if somebody is comfortable with their own sexuality, like, why should you be the one to challenge that and tell them to go and check it out further? Like, no, they're fine
Yeah,
with that. Like, fuck off.
yeah, yeah. It is
So,
insane, insane, and it
yeah,
also pissed me off.
yeah, it pissed me off too. I mean, some of the topics we've covered today, like, obviously, there's a lot of closed-minded, like, just hatred out there that we've acknowledged,
Yeah,
like, exists. And there's a lot of ignorance and there's a lot of stuff. And, like, as much as we're sat here on a podcast trying to talk about things openly and raise awareness in ways, like,
yeah,
the sad truth is probably the people that are going to listen to this are people who are already open-minded
yes,
or identify with this in some way, or like possibly some people that want to learn more and educate themselves on it because they don't
yeah,
understand, and fair play to those people. But there's probably not going to be anyone that is like super closed-minded that comes in and is like, yeah, I'll check it out just in case I change my mind. Like they're probably not going to bother. So
and no one ever.
with the state of everything, like, do you feel hopeful still that things will improve?
Um, I mean, I've probably spent this last 2 weeks spiraling about a nuclear war.
Yeah,
Um, so
that's so fair.
I don't know if things are going to improve in the way we think they are. Um, yeah,
It's a really hard question, I appreciate, and I kind of don't know my own answer because things look really bleak, but I want to have hope.
yeah, things come back around.
Yeah.
And Bob the drag queen always says everything works out in the end, and if it's not working out, it's not the end. So unfortunately, I think we've got a bit of a fight
Yeah.
ahead of I can get a fight with these limberists.
Yeah. I taught you how to punch. I literally taught you.
I know, I know. And you taught me how to break someone's arm.
Yeah, I did. So you use that whenever you
Hello.
need it.
Like they just asked you if you wanted mayo on your sub, and I'm like, um, yeah, I think there's a bit of a fight ahead um in terms of getting because it seems to be the news is saying one thing, and then the rest of everyone who actually knows what they're talking about is saying another thing.
Mm.
Um, you take the conversation about gender, for example, you've got people being like, I think there's only two genders. I believe that. Okay, well, every single Royal College in the country, and for those of you who don't know what they are, they're like the Royal College of Physicians, Surgeons, Psychiatrists, like they're just governing bodies for medical professionals, and they kind of set policy and review policies and things like that. Um, they all align with that trans people exist, they deserve gender affirming care, and they're real.
Yeah.
um, and that there's a real threat to them with this rhetoric and this new policy. Um, and I think when you're on the other side of science that's telling you this is the case, why aren't you listening to us? Oh, well, I believe that. I'm standing up for women. Well, you're not, because you're reducing what it means to be a woman down to have you got a vagina? Because some women don't have a vagina, and can you give birth? Well, some women can't give birth. So are they no longer women? And all of a sudden, the snowball gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and then we're living in the Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? You fought for women, you now have no rights. Your body's not your own. If you got pregnant and there's a risk of you miscarriaging and dying, well, unfortunately, that fetus is more important.
I'm one of those people. Like, I'm someone that, like, with EDS, like, it would be potentially very dangerous for me to carry a child.
Well,
Like,
unfortunately, you're
among
not a
the other
woman.
stuff like that I've got going on, like it's just not a good idea. Like, does that make me less of a woman? Because I'm probably never gonna do that. But also B, like, why, like, you're just gonna let me die? Like, is that literally what we're saying? You would just let me die? Like,
Yeah,
that's not okay.
backwards. And
I was
there are,
listening to it was a Call Her Daddy podcast with Kamala Harris the other day. Alex Cooper asked her, are there any male equivalents that you can think of, like even slightly, where the law dictates like that men don't have this autonomy over their own body, like
yeah.
this kind of thing? And obviously the answer is no. But Harry pointed out like probably the most recent example of that happening would be like chemical castration.
Weren't they trying to bring that in for like sex offenders? Was that the thing?
I mean, if they did that, like I might be on board, but we're more thinking about the fact that they used to do it
Oh
for
yeah, for
people that were
gays.
like gay because they don't agree with it. And it's like,
Alan Turing. He's the reason that we're not speaking German.
yeah,
I used this analogy the other day. If it's the men who don't want to be left alone with gay men, well, what might they do? Like, well, if you put me, someone who has never ever done crack cocaine, in a room full of crack cocaine, I wouldn't even be tempted.
I would.
If we put you in a room with crack cocaine,
Yeah.
you'd be tempted. Um, the same philosophy applies to these straight and
I've
gay men.
ruined your ruined your point. I'm so sorry. Pretend I
Wait,
am not an extra
you've
addict.
made my point. You put these men who are afraid of gay men in a room with them. What are you afraid you're gonna do if you're left alone with them? Oh, there's no one looking. Like hot dog swallowed. It's just weird.
Yeah,
It's weird.
it is, to be honest.
I
I think
I feel like the
homophobia
body
is weird. Transphobia is weird. I think this is my take. Like, I don't get it, and I'm not gonna.
I feel like that should be the name of the episode. Transphobia is weird.
Yeah,
Like we'll just type transphobia is weird.
yeah.
And I feel like I align more with, I mean, I don't align more with her values. But the HRH collection on TikTok and YouTube, um, she's like MAGA, but my MAGA in like an iconic way. I'm gonna get cancelled for this. But
By me. What do you mean?
I've sent you her videos before because she just loses her shit over stuff where she's like, where they ask her about haters, and she's like, they're always fat, ugly, and poor. And she's like, if you're gonna hate on me, I want to see a picture of your body, I want to see your side profile, and I want to see your bank statements. Because hot, rich people don't have time to hate. So, like, I feel like that's the approach that I'm taking more now when it comes to transphobia. Is like, oh, okay, you're stupid. You
Yeah.
don't understand. Do
And I
you
think
want
the
me to
more you
explain
look
it?
at the people that write these comments, the more you can actually kind of be like, you actually do seem really dumb. Like, there's very rarely that I'm opening it up and it's like
Yeah. I'm
someone
like,
that
oh,
I'm
you
getting
must
an
not
air
be
of
in the know.
intelligence from.
You must not be in the know. You must not know what's going on. Okay, I guess I could explain it to you like you're five.
Yeah.
And then I'm being mean because I'm talking to someone like they're a child. Well, stop behaving like one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is insane. But I think there's a long way to go in terms of
Oh God, yeah.
how we approach
Especially
this.
with all the steps back we're taking.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when World War II Awareness Day comes around and we're like, never forget, we seem to have forgotten how we got there in the first place. So, um, Oh,
Yep,
destined to
that's very
repeat.
true.
Unfortunately, unfortunately,
Unfortunately. Yeah.
horrible. What a wonderful note.
Yeah, do we have anything nice we can say to to finish this on? Who are some people in the world that you believe are good role models for anyone wanting to either accept themselves or learn a bit more? Like, who are some people that you would look up to?
Um, Mentioned him already. Brittany Broski. I think she's wonderful. I think she's really down to earth. She speaks in a way that really resonates with me. She just spends most of the podcast screaming. Um, but she's she gets it. Um, and then kind of in amongst that, I really enjoy RuPaul's Drag Race. And there are some
Yeah.
like car crashes queens on there, but Trixie Mattel, if you want to look at someone who kind of took a really dark time in their life, turned it round, and is really successful from that, brilliant. She's great. Um, who there's just like I'm consuming a lot of media of like a very small group at the minute, which is like Brittany Trixie, um, Drew Afuelo. She's brilliant.
I actually
Um,
don't know her.
she she will always clap back at a man who talks out of turn, which I think is incredible. And Caleb Heron, who I think is one of the funniest comedians at the minute. Um, I consume a lot of their media just because, I mean, they're very centered around kind of my beliefs and stuff. They don't take things too seriously. Like you can still be an advocate for all of it,
Yeah.
but also you can you can still be funny about it.
Oh yeah, you can have a joke.
Um,
Yeah.
who else do I find very inspiring? I find you very inspiring, but you don't have anywhere
Me?
near a big enough platform for
That is
people
so mean.
to worship and admire you in the way that I think
They
that
can
they
still worship and admire me.
should.
That shouldn't come with a number. No,
I mean,
that's unfair.
when Spotify picks this podcast up and you've got your own studio and we have to come into the studio to film it,
Is that when
like
I get worship?
that's when you get worship.
Okay.
And it'll be like, I will follow M. You know, like in Sister Act, where she's like, follow M wherever M will go. I love that movie. Georgia's not seen it. I was like singing it the other night, and she was like, I don't know what that is. I was like, that's Whoopi Goldberg.
I haven't seen it enough times to like know the songs necessarily, but I've seen it and it's great. And Georgia should watch it because it's
I
really
love it. I made her watch Norbit. That was funny.
Harry
Yeah.
does look at me. If I put Norbit on, he's kind of looking at me the whole time, like
Well, of
there's
course I am.
judgment there. Like I can sense there's judgment.
It's just so stupid.
I know.
Um, yeah, I think, and there's a few other like, oh my God, I love Anne Russell on TikTok. Do you follow her?
No, I don't think I do.
Anne Russell, if you ever listen to this bit, just know that I worship the very ground that you walk on. She is she is an icon and she is the moment. Um, it started off with like she did like a few like how to clean videos, but she's just become like this cultural phenomenon that is like she'll take on transphobes. She will, and she just drops like wisdom, and I really appreciate her.
I'm going to check
Um,
out all of these people, by the way, that I haven't already
you
heard
really
of.
should. And then there was one other. Me and Georgia have really been enjoying Dr. Brian Licious. His videos at the minute where he's an ethical hater. Kay Poya is another one who I absolutely adore. She's another one who is the moment. Um, and I believe that people should be more aware of. Um, yeah, and obviously, if you really enjoyed any of that content that I've just said, you should send me a real labubu in the post.
Yeah, I think probably before this started recording, we have established that Harry has probably ordered a lafufu.
Yes, I want a labubu, but I think I ordered a lafufu.
I literally sold all of mine as soon as they got popular because I hated it, and I would have just given you them.
I can't believe
You should
that.
have expressed this sooner because I would have just given you labubus.
I know.
But here we are.
I know. As soon as those SpongeBob fish go popular, you'll be selling them too.
No, that's day. I'm obsessed. I will never get rid of them.
I really want to go to Pop Mart. I've never been.
We could go in Birmingham.
Yes, Gigs
Yeah,
Birmingham.
we can go in Birmingham. That's what you were doing.
Are you going on? Oh yes, I'm going to Birmingham. Yeah, we'll go when inevitably I'm like, oh, I needed to be at weigh-in an hour ago, but I'm currently at the Pop Mart in Birmingham.
We're queuing for the boobies.
We're
Food
queuing for the
stock day.
go get Pop Mart stuff after weigh-in at the British and then be late for the session.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Wait for us. Do you
But you
have
know who I am.
anything that I don't know, anything to add? Anything that you're like, oh, I really wanted to say this and I've not had the
Um,
chance? Like,
the only thing I will leave this Pride podcast message with is trans life. Oh my God. Trans rights are human rights. My God. Protect the dolls. Um, and yeah, I think we can leave it there. That's probably the most important message for this Pride is people in our community are under attack and we need to fight. The wrist is still limp.
yeah,
I don't I don't know how to make my arm straight.
it's fine. It'll do. It'll do. Just break their arms. Just break their arms. I taught you how.
Yeah,
Don't
that's
bother
true.
even punching them. Just
That's true.
grab theirs and off you go.
I don't believe in punching. I believe in kicking, gouging, biting, scratching.
I believe in all of those plus punching. I keep punching. Well, for anyone that has sat all the way through this, there has been a lot of yapping, but I think a lot of very valuable yapping. Thank you so much to Harry for coming on. I can probably say this won't be the last time he's on. I can see him being kind of a repeat guest if he's got
We're going to do a
time
fortnight one
because
soon.
we have so many opinions. But yeah, thank you all for listening and until next time.
Bye.